Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Business Casual. I am your host, the RJB0. Today I want to talk to you about Divine Wrath. Because like I've been saying all week, effect negation is key this format. Because if you try to rely on cards that take out monsters when they hit the board, things like Bottomless, Torrential, Warning, etc., they aren't necessarily going to get you very far just because there is a sheer huge abundance of summoning capacity in this format. Ways that people can special summon, ways that people can protect their normal summons. So those aren't necessarily going to get you very far. And also, there's the fact that it's not so good against established fields. But also when you go to the battle phase and you try to use your battle phase tricks, generally it's too late for your D-Prisons or your Mirror Forces as well, because either they're going to be destroyed in the process of your opponent going off on you, or your opponent's going to have an overwhelming field with ways of overcoming something like Mirror Force or D-Prison. They're going to have gained enough advantage that a Mirror Force or D-Prison won't make a difference. So monster effect negation is absolutely key. So now we have to examine new ways of doing that. And Divine Wrath has been historically kind of looked down upon, because while both Divine Wrath and Effect Veiler are both -1s, Effect Veiler has the advantage of being faster than Divine Wrath. Divine Wrath has to be set for a turn. You can't use it during your opponent's first turn before you get to set any cards, so it is a slower card than Effect Veiler. But now we have to look at adding on further effects. For instance, the fact that Divine Wrath is a counter trap, and the fact that Divine Wrath destroys the monster. It also has a couple other advantages over Effect Veiler. So let's talk about the fact that it's a counter trap. Since there are so many chainable cards this format with things like Lance, Hare, Turtle, Pandemic, things like that running around, the counter trap portion of this is extremely important. Because if you're going to hit your opponent's key plays, you want to make sure that that goes through. And the only way this format that your opponent is going to be able to get around the counter trap is if they're running like 7 Tools or Dark Bribe or something, which is extremely uncommon. Or they could start off their turn with Trap Stun or Decree. But in a lot of cases, at least with Bujins, we'll take for example, if they aren't going to try and go for a big play, they're not going to hit their Decree immediately. They're going to try and wait to give you a -1. If they're going to want to summon a monster that turn, then they're going to start with their Decree. But if they've just got a Yamato on the board, they're not necessarily going to go for that Decree. So you wait for them to go to the end phase, and then you can flip the Divine Wrath on their Yamato, and it's too late for them to hit the Royal Decree. That's just a little bit of theory and a little bit of mind games that you can play with people. So that's one way that Divine Wrath being a counter trap is really important. But once again, there are also just that extreme abundance of cards that block trap cards via Trap Stun, Lance, etc., etc., etc. So you can't respond with any of the things that people normally respond with. So that counter trap thing is really nice. The other really nice thing is that it destroys the monster, which is super key. I've been telling you guys about how important it is to hold an Abyss Dweller or a Fossil Dyna on the board, and if your opponent's going for something like Theosophy into Moral Talk, then you're going to have to be able to take that Moral Talk off the board, because if you let it stay on the board, it's just going to run your Abyss Dweller over next turn. So it's very, very important that you can take that monster off the board, as well as negating its effect. So Divine Wrath is a really nice card. The fact that you have to discard a card is actually not as big a deal this format, mostly because there are a lot of decks that can afford to throw away a card, usually a monster. In the case of Harpies, sometimes a spell. Bujins love this card because they can just be like, okay, I'll just drop the turtle that I had sitting dead in my hand to negate your effect, now my turtle's live. So it's a great card for a lot of decks. I've been trying to run it in my Dragon Rulers. Of course, I've been running it in Thunder Family because of the sheer abundance of monsters I can get in my hand. So I love Divine Wrath, and I think it's something you should try, especially if your deck is something more aggro-based, for like a Dragon Ruler deck or something of that sort. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why in the comment section below, and discuss whether or not you think Divine Wrath is a good card this format. If so, what deck do you plan on using it, etc., etc., etc. Meanwhile, thank you guys for watching. I'm the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.